All right, let's see if we can get this done properly for change. Holy crap, that was possible to get started. All right, starting to get some people in here. How is everyone? Let me get this right here. Hey, how are you, Renee? It's good to see you. Candy, hey, wrong channel. I know. Shake all the other people. Yeah, like I was saying in that thing, it's just sometimes it gets unbearable to actually do the live stream because it's like 400 people in the chat some nights and I can't keep up. So I thought we'd do this for all of us. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you, Dregs. BC Green, how are you? Got 5 people in here. Now, if we can keep this below, I don't know, maybe 100, that would be excellent. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I started it and I hit my desk and my computer just froze, or my camera just froze. It was weird. Oh, we went in Great Wolf Lodge 4 days and didn't want to come back. Oh, we're gonna go. We got one right up here near Seattle and want to take the whole family up there. Great Wolf Lodge. My family went there one time. I had to work, so I couldn't go, and I've been wanting to go back since then. And I think we're going to do that once all this clears up, probably towards the end of summer or something. Yeah, come on over and watch. Yeah, it looks. They said even my older kids said they had a great time when they went. Who's at my doorbell? Someone's at my doorbell. I got little cameras right here so I can see what's going on out in the front and back and stuff like that. Yeah, hopefully, like I said, we'll go, and I can hardly wait. We get the whole big rooms and all that stuff. When Grapevine, Texas. Yeah, they got them all over the place. My brother, I think him and his did that. Yeah, they did. They came up here one Christmas and then decided to go do that. So they spent some time with us on Christmas, then took the kids up to Great Wolf. We should have gone. Family is doing good, Renee. Thanks. Usual things going on around here. My daughter's doing her schooling for nursing and all that, and she works at hospital type thing as a CNA. And Thor, he's doing all the videos still. Ronan actually started working for us, his first job working for the channel, doing research. And that's about it. And my wife is probably going to quit working soon. It's like the highlight of her light. Anytime we bring that up, she gets all excited. Yeah, it's like I told my kids, if you can get into anything, there's a couple things you can get into right now that you're guaranteed to have a job for like the next 50 years. One of them is healthcare, anything to do with healthcare. Hey, Bren, how are you? It's all the cool people are here tonight. Someone's trying to snoop in on the live stream. Yeah, we can. Things are good. Boom, 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 boom. So what do you guys want to talk about tonight? Now that it's just us. It's not a whole bunch of people. So I'll tell you one thing. A couple cool things we got coming up on the other channel. We've done all the research. Thanks, Renee. We've done all the research. I just haven't recorded it yet, but we did a list of 100 things to see before you die in the United States. That'll be coming up at the end of the month here. So that should be pretty cool. How about a video of hidden gems in each state? So that's something kind of like what I was just talking about. It's weird you bring that up. Data centers are always a good job. That and what do they call them? There's one I was just reading about. It's like business machine services, which sounds like a tech job to me, but no, it's when you could repair everything from a computer to a printer to all this. You get decent money doing that, and there's plenty of that going on. 99 deep ditch, just one hospital. Yep. There's a great saying about healthcare I heard years ago. I was reading some book about, I don't know, this is kind of gross, but I hope no one's eating, but we won't get into the details, but about your colon. And there's an old Chinese saying that a village with a lot of bathrooms or toilets, whatever, don't need a lot of doctors or medicine, don't need a lot of medicine. And when you don't have enough toilets, you need a lot of medicine, basically is what it was saying. Good job, good money. Sweet. Yeah, I've heard data centers are pretty good. It's pretty strange in the advancement that we're getting in technology over the last 20 years. You honestly have to look at what's going to be viable. When you're picking a career now, it's not what's good paying right now. Is it going to be around in another 20 years? You know, that's something with the advancements of technology and the speed that things are changing. That's something you really got to look at. I mean, who would have thought 20 years ago diesel mechanic might be on the verge of starting to lose business? Sure, diesel mechanics are still making plenty of money, but 20 years from now, are they going to need as many as they have right now? No, it's things like that are going to fall by the wayside as electric vehicles take off, things like that. It'll be replaced by other jobs, but that's what you got to think about. What could be the future for me? So pretty weird. Mashed potatoes, fruit punch. Yeah, healthcare is always going to be there. Yeah, my one of the doctors my wife used to work with, he actually works on your backside. That's one of the things he does, like your intestines and stuff. And he said that if he's all, this is no joke, you know those squatty potties? He goes, if more people had those, he'd lose half his business. I was like, really? I thought they were a joke. He goes, no, those things can really help you. I was like, oh wow. Renee's trying to hide messages. Gaming company also. Computer repair is decent. That's another one you could do freelancing and make some decent money on computer repair. And also, as things are spreading out across the country, tech companies are going to different places like Nebraska, Iowa, and stuff like that. There'll be more of a need in those places. It's not just in San Francisco anymore or New York or places like that. You're going to see more and more companies are moving tech people out to the middle of nowhere because land's cheap, labor's cheap for the most part compared to Los Angeles or something. So yeah, you'll see more and more of that. This is great. I'm glad we don't have that many people in. What I like. I think we could stand to use about 20 or 30 more people in the chat, but this is a lot better. Those 300-400 ones on the other channel just drive me crazy. But I'm going to do one tomorrow night anyway, so. India, North Dakota, or Switzerland. Who wouldn't love Switzerland? There's a YouTuber named Is Harris. I talked about her before. I think last week I talked about her. She does great, outstanding, just very enjoyable travel videos. And she did one, took the whole family to Switzerland, and the way she did it was great. Now I want to go to Switzerland because of her video. Great. Love watching her stuff. Alex, how are you? Hey, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I know a lot of you guys forget that since we're so used to the other channel. How's the world treating you, Alex? You can watch another one. I'd suggest watching at least one of her videos. They're very good. Very good. And she's not like one of my close friends I'm trying to pimp out her channel. She's just someone that does great videos. So yeah, the Switzerland because some bunkers. You want a bunker? Who doesn't want a bunker, really, though? Spent the week working in East Tennessee. Had to come back to Memphis Burbs. Memphis Burbs. Graduate high school in a couple weeks. You're one of the rare people we have on this channel that isn't over the age of 25, I'd say at least. That's one good thing. I didn't realize it when I started YouTube, but they pay you by the audience. Who's your audience? And I guess this is true for any kind of advertising or marketing or whatever. But depending on how much money your audience has, you're going to get better ads. And since I have an older audience of people that have money, I tend to get better. They call it, God, what do they call it? Clicks per million, CPA. I think that's it, CPA. So my clicks per thousand is a lot better than, say, a gaming channel. So, and it's because I got, my audience is older and we all make money, I guess. 31. Yeah, and good job on that, Alex. Bren's right. High school's your first step. Got to get that. I had my high school girlfriend. She went to high school as long as she needed to, and as soon as she got about midway through her senior year, she just quit going to high school and went to started going to community college. Eventually, graduated from UCLA, and yeah, now she's kind of a bigwig at Toyota. I wouldn't say bigwig, but she's high up there. And her dad was like, "You don't need high school. What's the point of high school if you're going to college?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." So I thought that was a weird angle. I graduated high school and went on to the Army because you needed that. But yeah, that's how she did it. You're old as me, huh? In your 50s? You deserve a cut now, huh? Linda Lou, how are you? Snape, how are you, man? You graduated college today? Good job. Good job. Took me 6 years to get a 2-year degree. You know why? Because I was in the Army. I could only take like a class at a time, and sometimes I'd go halfway through a semester and get deployed someplace and wouldn't be able to finish the semester. And sometimes the teachers would give me credit, sometimes they wouldn't. It was a pain in the ass. But yeah, 6 years took me. Yeah. Bachelor's good. Good. When I was working at Netflix, it was so funny that it was almost like it didn't matter. Well, I guess as you went along, but they started you out there as a supervisor, which at the time, this 2010, supervisors were making like $65,000 a year. You just had to have a 2-year degree to start in the company as a supervisor there. which was kind of interesting. Some of the people that are out there, they were just still in that high school mentality, even though they had their 2-year degree. I was like, oh, okay. I guess the 2-year degree doesn't mean you're very mature. Giant spreadsheet of a ton of factors and cover your videos. Place to live after college. There you go. Like I said in today's video, all my videos should be treated like almost like pamphlets that give you an idea of about a place, give you an idea of a place. Then you should do more research. And it's like not any one of them is telling you not to move someplace or to move someplace. But if this one, it's almost like when you're thinking about moving someplace, you're looking at 10 different things about that place, right? And maybe one of them's crime. So if you looked at mine and said, okay, that one's on the worst crime list, maybe I'll stay away from that. You take from little videos and see which one, put them all together and see which one works. That was a very bad explanation of what was going on in my head. So I'm going to move on. What are some of the things I want to do in future video? Well, there's a couple things. One, I want to now that we're going to be able to start traveling more and things are a little bit easier. I'm going to actually go to some of the towns and almost do a travel list there while I'm there. So I'll actually go to different places, film it, and show you what I'm talking about. Which was originally kind of what I wanted to start doing, but then the pandemic hit. So it's a year and a half later, we're going to start doing that. So we'll do more of that. I'm going to go profile some small towns. That'll be every once in a while. I'll profile it with 10 things to know about this town, things like that. So we're going to really focus on small towns in the next coming year. Also, I like doing those big ones where it's 50 things or 100 things. We're going to be doing some of those too. People seem to like those. They didn't seem to like the one on how many cops per state or today's video didn't do that well. I was kind of shocked. I thought that one would do good. One that blew that I really thought was going to be good was, God, what was that one? The one about animals. Animals in the United States that'll kill you. I really thought that one, or actually I did the one about the world. That one did horrible. I thought it was going to do great. Honesdale, PA. Great place to live. Your Chicago deep dish. I love Chicago deep dish. Yeah, I heard they were going to start the cruises again. That's one thing I want to start doing on this channel that we're on right now is more cruise stuff. I'm going to go on cruise. I was supposed to go on this really killer cruise that was April of 2020. So, of course, like 2 weeks before it cruised, they finally just canceled all of them. I was so bummed. And what's really interesting about that, I didn't have a up-to-date passport, and I didn't realize it till it was almost too late. So I had to send in a bunch of paperwork, and it just became this big nightmare. And we were really worried the cruise was going to go on, and we didn't have our passports, or I didn't have mine. But then I get it about 3 weeks before, not even that. I think it was like 10 days before we were supposed to go, and the cruise had already been canceled. Bummed me out. Well, guys, I'm very relaxed. Let's do. I got another one. So here's something I want to talk about. And by the way, I got that shot today, and for some reason, it's making my skin itch a little bit. So if you see me doing this, I'm not coming down from some drugs. I got some drugs, and it's not agreeing with me. But I wanted to talk about something. What was it? Oh, my podcast. So I do have a podcast. In case you don't know what the podcast is, it's there. Let me see if I can find it for you. And it's basically just stories of people I meet. If you're a follower of the other channel, you heard me talk about this before. When I go on trips, I talk to people, and I just kind of get to know their life story. And that's my podcast. And now I'm doing something else where I did a train video that went from Chicago to Los Angeles. And I'm doing a podcast over the footage, basically. So I'll upload it to YouTube, which is a podcast with footage from the trip. And then it'll be on the podcast channel too. I don't know. It's just something I thought I'd try. Try about 3 or 4 of them and see if it works. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like to talk to people and just get their life story. And it's amazing how many people will just sit down and tell me about their life story. Oh, there's my podcast right there. I think that takes you to it. Yep, that takes you. Stories from America. Wait a Hope that doesn't take you to my actual. Let me see if this one does. Oh, it takes you to a login thing. Okay, let me try that again. Let's try this again one more time. There it is. Okay. Here it is. If you guys ever want to listen to my podcast, that's the real one. Amtrak. Amtrak is not as good as it could be. That's a shame, and they have a lot of factors that are against them. One thing I've never had to complain about is the staff. Their staff is outstanding. I don't know why. I don't know how they're training these people, but I've never run into any staff, any person on a train that is nothing but polite. There is one lady that runs the lounge in Chicago. She's got a little bit of that drill sergeant in her, but she's got to yell at people all the time. But they're always nice. Yeah, it's on Spotify too. The VP. Yeah. Yeah, I love Amtrak. There's just something about, I don't mind flying. I'd rather not fly because I like seeing where I'm going. I don't just like going someplace. I like to actually see, and I could do work on it, and I could film out the window of the train. It's just great. If you ever get a chance, do it. I always thought about, I don't know, trying to get someone to go on a train with me, but never, no one ever wants to. My oldest son did one time. I always thought about taking one of the subscribers on a train trip with me, but I don't know. Maybe someday when I'm bigger. But my oldest son went with me once, and my wife's only done the trip up to Seattle with me. And my younger one said he wouldn't mind going to Chicago with me on the train, so maybe we'll do that this year. There's an old History Channel show. Empire Builder between Chicago and Seattle. That's a nice trip. The downside about both, the three trains that leave Chicago and then come to the West Coast. The worst part about it is once you leave Chicago, that first day you're going through Kansas and Iowa, and that's something neat to look at for like 5 minutes. And after that, you're like, God, get me to some scenery. And then when you finally get to like the Rockies, it's beautiful. When you start getting into Montana and Idaho and stuff, it's beautiful on the Empire Builder. Southwest Chief, if you listen to my next podcast and watch that video on this channel, that'll probably be up this weekend sometime. That's the worst trip I've been on. There's no good scenery. It just goes through Kansas and all that, and Iowa, and it's just flat. It's boring. You cross the Mississippi River, and that's kind of neat. But then you get to the desert, and I'm not a desert guy, and everyone said it's beautiful to see the desert there. It was horrible. What's the best Amtrak route? In my personal opinion, this is the best trip you could take on Amtrak. Fly into Denver and go west on the California Zephyr. That takes you through the Rockies. It takes you to Reno, Nevada. Then you go through the mountains near California and Nevada, and it is beautiful. Drops you off in San Francisco, or not San Francisco. Well, you can go to San Francisco, but it drops you off in Sacramento, California. Then you just fly out of there wherever you have to go. But that trip, it'll be an overnight trip. It is so worth it. It's a great trip. Keeps kicking out. What's going on? What is Amtrak? Sears cool. Amtrak is, I don't know if you're not from the United States, but that's the train system, the passenger train system that goes around the United States. That's not like the local one that It's the one that goes across the country and from city to city. Yeah, but definitely the California Zephyr that goes from Chicago to Sacramento. Beautiful, great trip. The Empire Builder goes from Chicago or Seattle, goes back and forth. That one's beautiful in Washington, Idaho, and Montana. When you start getting into the Dakotas, you can get some stretches there when it's kind of boring. Sierra Mountain, yeah, Sierra Nevada's beautiful, beautiful. Not as good as the Rockies, but definitely something you want to see. It's really weird about people from Denver and basically Colorado. Every single one of them I've ever met are just the nicest people. And I know probably 20, 25. And I could tell you right now that out of that 25, 20 of them are in the top people I've ever met that are just pleasant and nice and wonderful people. Yeah, they're all stoned. That might be part of it too. Yeah, it's quite nice. I like it. That's a good way of putting it. It's nice and relaxing. The one I want to take next, which I've never taken, is want to go from Chicago down through West Virginia and all that on the Cardinal and end up in Washington D.C. That's the next one I want to take. Why do I hate Texas? I don't hate Texas. Who hates Texas? Texas is a great state. It gets too hot for me in most places. That's my only complaint about it. Is she from Denver, Brent? Are he from Denver? West Texas. West Texas gets a little hot. Yeah, I have no problem with Texas whatsoever. That could be a good trip. You know, if you take the train, there's two different things you want to know. You take the one where you rent the car or rent the room. It's expensive, but it's worth it. Even the little tiny room, because you get to lay down, you get to sleep, all that. Just sitting up in a, one of those bus type seats for 24 hours, 48 hours, however far you're going, 18 hours. That's a little rough. If you could swing, save up the money if you have to, for one of the rooms and do that. Go through one of those routes. It's so worth it. Do I like rice wine? I'm not a wine guy. I like dark beer. That's what I drink. If I drink anything, it's going to be dark beer. Well, I drink a lot of like water and stuff like that, but you know what I mean? Alcohol, it's always dark beer. Just moved from Texas? You're sorry. Where'd you move to, Bren? Yeah, the sleeper car is the way to go. I like the one that's just called the bedroom. It's got the bathroom in it and all that stuff. I like to take a shower when I don't like going 48 hours without a shower. That's something the military did to me. A couple times I had to go way too long without a shower, just because we're in the field or whatever. Since that day, since then, I have to take a shower once a day. Which I mean, you should, but it's just I have this mental thing where I need to take a shower every day. Didn't have the time. Yeah, you got to have some time to take that train trip. Especially, I mean, if you're going to go visit someplace, let's say you're in Chicago and you want to go out and visit Seattle, you got to have, if you're going to take the train both ways, you got to have 6 days. 2 days out, 2 days in Seattle, and 2 days back. The auto train. Why would you? Chicago or Seattle's a pretty interesting town. I mean, I've been to all the major cities, I think. No, there's a couple I've missed, but I've been to most of the major cities in the United States. Seattle's up there in the top 10. It's definitely a good place to visit. I mean, there's Chicago, New York, got to see Los Angeles. San Francisco, for all its problems, is really a beautiful city. You know, you can't take that away from them. They've got all kinds of problems with the homeless, stuff like that. It is still a beautiful historic city. Just don't go in the wrong area. But out of all the cities I've ever been to, Seattle's up there. They're definitely a good place. I'm a White Sox fan. I love the White Sox. I became a White Sox fan when I saw that movie, The Black Sox, or what was it called? Eight Men Out. Yeah, that was great. But I usually, when I was younger, I'd go to Dodger games and Padre games, being in Southern California. But when I saw that movie, I thought, you know what? That's a great team right there. They're still around, even though this is back in like the 20s. They had guys throw the World Series, and they're still a team. That should collapse a team, especially back then. Favorite town is Savannah. Savannah's a beautiful place. My favorite hockey team, I'm a Calgary Flames fan. The only reason I am, it's like one of the first games I went to, Los Angeles Kings game. They played Calgary Flames. And afterward, the person I was with, we got to go in that bar that's used to be called the Forum that they played at. And I had a fake ID, by the way. I was only like 19. But a bunch of the players were in there. They're totally, totally nice. Really cool. It's really nice. And I became a fan. In the Browns, the same thing. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan because back when they used to have the USFL, which was another league, they were hurting for fans so bad that you could go to the practices. They have luncheons. You could meet everyone. You could meet all the players. Well, when that league shut down, like 5 or 6 of them went to the Browns. So, like I've said before, in your high school head, these are your friends. Even though you just met them a couple times and talked to them, all of a sudden they're your friends in your head. So my friends went to the Cleveland Browns, so I started watching the Browns and been a fan ever since. That was in like the early 80s or mid 80s. Why did I move to Oregon? I was sick of Los Angeles. I had spent a lot of time in the military and got to experience better places to live that weren't as crowded and weren't as expensive. And I got out of that mentality that you need to live in Southern California. That's how you thought. It's the best place to live in the world. No place else is worth it. Everyone else is beneath you. Then I went in the military and I realized that's all horseshit. And so we stayed there for some years. And then I was like, I just came home one day and I can't take it here anymore. Who wants to move to Oregon? And I thought everyone would shoot me down, but all 3 of my kids were let's go. Now, keep in mind, this was astonishing because we lived 3 blocks off the beach when we left in Redondo Beach. So I thought my kids for sure were going to go, no way, we're not moving. They were like, I'm ready to go right now. And the only one that wasn't on board totally was my wife. But in our family, we've always treated everyone's equal and everyone gets a vote. And we do things like a democracy when it's a big thing like that. And everyone wanted to go. So we left. So Oregon hasn't become that ridiculous. Portland has. And that's the weird thing. So even most of Portland, it's not as bad as they make it look on television. Now, the homeless thing's completely out of control. And since the pandemic, it has doubled in its severity. So that is a problem. But I'm talking about the riots and stuff. On this channel, there's some videos that I did down at the riots. I went down to video because I kept seeing all the coverage on the news, and it was bad. It shouldn't have been going on that long and all this other stuff. There's all kinds of arguments for and against it, and it just went on way too long, and it got too destructive. There's a point where you quit protesting and become a giant pain in the ass. But I went down there, and really, the whole riot thing was condensed into like a 4-block radius. most of the time. So, like I told people, I went down there, filmed one day, and on my way home, I get in my car, not a problem, start driving. I'm not even a complete mile away from where the epicenter of the riots were. And there's people sitting out on the sidewalk at restaurants having wine and hanging out and having dates. It was just weird. Tampa Bay Bandits. Yeah, there you go. We had the LA Express out there. Hey, Geo Scholar, how are you? Yeah, and I got out of Los Angeles. The beach was great and all that, but I'd spent most of my life at the beach and I just kind of started realizing I don't go down there half as much as I used to. So there was really no need to stay in Southern California, and I enjoy the woods a lot more. So that's why I'm here. Honestly, if you leave my house right now and drive a mile, you hit a bunch of farmland. And after the farmland, about 5 more miles, it's just wooded areas, the coastal range, they call it. Do you know anything about the Arena Football League? I went to a couple games back when they were in Los Angeles, and saw them one other place too when I was in Kansas. God, that was a long time ago. It was like the Barnstormers. I think it was Iowa or something like that. Good night, Renee. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, what time is it there? Oh, it's like 11 o'clock in Jersey. Yeah, that's how it is here for me. If I was Southern California, I would have had to drive for 3 hours to find farms. Chicago Rush. God, they had some interesting names. Tampa Bay Bandits. The Barnstormers. They had some way interesting names. Let me look at these. So here's the ones they have now: Orlando Predators, Arizona Rattlers, Baltimore Brigade, Tampa Storm, Jacksonville Sharks, Chicago Rush, Spokane Shock, Cleveland Gladiators, Georgia Force, Grand Rapids Rampage, New York Dragons, which New York Dragons has been like three different teams and not just the Arena Football League. Los Angeles Avengers, Colorado Rush, San Antonio Talons. God, they got so many now. Utah Blaze, and actually Gene Simmons owns one. It's called the Los Angeles Kiss. Dallas Desperados, Kansas City Command. It goes on. Oh, the Barnstormers are still a team. Interesting. They got a few more, but I've grown weary of naming all of them. Vegas Knights. Wichita Force is indoor football. Yeah, I've been looking at your Instagram, GeoScholar. I've noticed you've been in Europe, or I guess it's just England. There was a minor league. It might even be real, but back in the old days, um, TV like game shows and stuff like the Newlyweds, their word for sex was whoopee. Well, Macon, Georgia, which Macon, their minor league baseball team was named Whoopee, and it was Macon Whoopee. I thought that was great. In a few days. Wichita, Kansas. Wichita is just a boring city in general. over a hike or camp. That's about it. True. I love going for a hike. I just don't camp anymore. It's a very suggestive name. Making whoopee. How many countries have I gone to? Well, let's see. United States, that doesn't count, but I've been to Canada, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua, Colombia, Panama, Salvador, Jamaica, a couple places here, there in Europe. Most of my experience is in Central and South America. We used to leave Panama, where we were stationed, and sometimes go down to this little tiny town, and that was in Colombia. You just go across this bay and get to it. It was like Turbo, or yeah, it was called Turbo, Turbo, and we'd head over there and kind of have a good time. It was a lot of fun back when I was 20, 21, something like that. I was probably 25 then. Yeah, no super chat on this one. This is not a money channel. Someday maybe it will be. I just thought this is just for the people that, are subscribers to the other channel and are members of that channel, and anyone that wanders in on this one. So yeah, this definitely doesn't have super chats or anything like that. How old am I now? 51, 52, something like that. Seattle was nice. Had a good time. I got a video coming out about it. So I went to Seattle and I stayed at the Edgewater Hotel. The Edgewater Hotel is historic. It's right there. It's on a pier on the end of the bridge, right? Or it's in the harbor. It's on a pier. And there's a famous picture. I think that it was in Rolling Stone magazine of the Beatles fishing out of the window. And they used to give you fish back in the 60s and 70s. They used to give you fishing poles if you wanted them. They had them downstairs behind the desk. And there's a great picture of them fishing. Well, we stayed in the Beatles room, me and my wife. It was really, really nice. Had a good time. And I took a whole video. It'll be up on this channel sometime in the near future. Mischarging now. Good topic, Dregs. What did I miss, Dregs? 10 cities that grew because of the railroads. So that's a good question. There's a lot of cities that wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the rail, or if they were here, they wouldn't be nearly as big as they've gotten to this point. Yep, and the military. A lot of places in Kansas and Nebraska that there's no way they should be there. And if it wasn't for the military, they wouldn't have been there, or the trains. Barstow, California, that's another one. I used to work with a guy who went AWOL from the Army, and he took a Jeep. This right before, he was older than me, then right before they got the Humvees, he said. And he was going to go AWOL. He'd had enough. And he was out at Fort Irwin, California, which is in the middle of the frickin' desert. And it is horrible. It's a horrible place to be stationed. Well, one day he had had enough, just grabbed a Jeep and drove to Barstow and changed his clothes, called his friend from a McDonald's payphone, and his friend drove 2 hours from LA to come pick him up. And he said it was like 2 years later, he got pulled over for a parking ticket, and the military came, got him, took him back to Fort Irwin, made him sign a bunch of papers, and then they just kicked him out the front gate. He was out of the military, but they didn't even bother driving him to the Greyhound station or something like that. And this, I mean, if you ever saw Fort Irwin, there is like a road of 10 miles in the middle of the desert where there's nothing. Fort Irwin behind you and a highway 10 miles down this road. That is it. And they dropped him off. He walked that 10 miles, got to the road, hitchhiked, took him back to that same McDonald's. He called the same friend who came and got him like 3 hours later. Yeah. Well, Atlanta's been a hub. I mean, now it's a rail and transportation hub, or now it's a air and transportation hub. But back in the day, it was all about the rail with them. And I mean, river transportation too. Well, not river really, but yeah, they got the Chattahoochee River. And back in the day, these days it always seems kind of small to me when I've been there. Like they didn't have many boats going up it back in the day. It's like creek, basically. I know it was bigger way back when, but nowadays it's like a creek in most areas. Should say glorified creek. Yeah, Santa Fe, another one. What are some of my favorite topics to talk about? I love small town America. Anytime I can find a way to do a video about a small town or about small towns, I love those. I think that's something that almost like going to Mount Rushmore or seeing the, Empire State Building or anything like that, the Golden Gate Bridge. I think small towns are just as exciting. That's just me, though. I mean, I love seeing small towns in America with good old fashioned main streets. That's just great. Those are my favorite subjects, but you can only you can only make so many videos like that. When I fly, which airline do I take? It depends. United. I don't like Southwest, never have, but I take Alaska, United, American Airlines, those three. Sometimes certain planes aren't going where I want to go. Alaska's probably my favorite, but that really just goes up and down the West Coast for the most part. Yeah, I think, I back in, I could have swore, Joe Scholar, that I had seen some of those old, where they had the poles going up different sections of it, just those smaller boats pushed by two guys on with poles. I'd seen Civil War pictures in the Chattahoochee River with that, but I don't know if they were just going across certain points or something. So I always assumed that they got some of their shipping down that river. Deadwood's a perfect example of a beautiful place, even though that's more of a tourist trap these days. That's a perfect example. Historic, nice main street, beautiful. Small towns. Yep, that's it. Old brick limestone buildings, beautiful. Yeah, see, mark my words, and I think it's kind of obvious now. That's where we're going to be heading here in the next decade or so. More and more people will be getting out of the cities. I mean, right now they finally announced that California did actually lose people, and where they lost the people were Los Angeles and San Diego and a couple places like that, the major cities. And those people are finding smaller towns or smaller cities to live because a lot of people can work remotely now. There's a guy that bought a ghost town. I just read an article about him. I can't remember where it's from. I think it's in Montana someplace, but he bought the whole ghost town and he's got a YouTube channel and he's been living there for over a year. He was only going to stay there like a month. And now he's been there over a year and he's just got this channel going. What's funny is he films and then a friend, or if he goes in to get supplies, he borrows someone's computer that's in town and uploads it from there because he gets no internet where he is. You've been watching him? Yeah. Some in California. Most of my relatives are in New York, the South, like Mississippi or South Carolina, and then California. Even though my sister did just move across the border in Washington a couple of years back. She got out of Torrance, California too. She couldn't take it. Her and her husband, when he retired, they were like, "Yeah, we're done with California." And they left. You know, there's something just relaxing about being in a small town. I don't know what it is. Yeah, a mountain town would be good. There's a couple really nice ones that I've always had my eye on, but probably won't. I think if I moved my wife someplace where she got snowed in for like, weeks at a time, she'd kill me during that time. Moved her to Oregon, that's bad enough. How David Tell explained living in Seattle? Said this it's so gray here all the time. Sometimes you want to punch your roommate in the nose just so you could see some color. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Plenty of trees. See, that's me. I'm one of those dudes. I need to have trees wherever I'm living. I don't do good in the desert, and I don't need to live in Nebraska or anything like that. I need the woods. I don't know what it is. Someone said they've been watching that guy. Let me find it for you. Here it is. It is. Nope, that's not. Ghost Town Living. That's him. Yeah, I think that's him. Let's see.
4 hours into the hike, it was
Yeah, that's him. Ghost Town Living. You ever get a chance? It's a very interesting channel, and he's outpacing me on growth in a bad way. Yeah, he started April of 2020, so just a year ago. He's almost got 1 million followers, subscribers. Just stomping me like a narc at a biker rally. No, it's just I haven't shaved it. I normally shave it. I'm not going bald. I'm going gray. I've been going gray since I was in my 20s. That's just you know, we all have our physical deformity, I guess you could say, if it is a deformity. And mine was I started going gray at a very young age. Um, so I mean, even if I was probably had as much gray in my head when I was in my 30s as I do right now. But I haven't shaved it in the last couple days. Last couple weeks actually. Yeah, it's time to buy a ghost town. Got to do something like that. Maybe spice this channel up. I often want to. So this channel that we're on right now, I often wonder what I'm going to do with it because I want it to grow. Originally, what I wanted to do is be a travel channel, and the list started paying all my bills, so that had to keep going, and I started enjoying it. But eventually, I would like this to become like a place where I just take the train to small towns and just stay in a small town for a day or two and just explore the small town. And I want to show small town America, and it's going to be on this channel eventually. Now, with the restrictions getting lifted and everything's getting back to somewhat normal, or we're at least heading that direction, maybe that'll become a reality. Oh, yeah, I got a full head of hair. I live in Evans, Illinois, unincorporated and very small. I got to look that one up. I think I'm going to go up and see, do a video on Hood River, Oregon, and then I'm going to start branching out and do different states and stuff like that. When do I think it'll return to normal? So I think absolute normal is a couple years off, to where we look back on it and go, God, can you believe those years? I think that's 3 years off. But I honestly think by the end of this year, we're going to see that they're not requiring masks anymore. By that time, enough people have had it and built an immunity, and enough people have been vaccinated. I just think that's the way we're heading, and I think that's how it's going to be. I've heard of from here to there. Someone always brings him up, and I bet you're going to say he's ripping me off. Everyone keeps telling me that. How old am I? 51 or 52? Something like that. I don't really keep track anymore. I think 52. Yeah, that's another thing people say about his voice. But I mean, you know, if you're going to do lists, it's not like I'm the first guy to ever do lists on locations or anything like that. It's just, yeah, you know, I probably should. It's driving me crazy. But Benadryl will put me to sleep, and this will be over in 5 minutes. So it's one thing to do something that someone else has done. I mean, Casey Neistat wasn't the first guy to ever blog. You know, I'm not the first guy to ever do a list, things like that. It's just when you're doing thumbnails just like mine, and you're pretty much doing exactly what I'm doing, just adding a few different words, kind of tacky. That's my opinion. I mean, look at me and Nick Johnson. Very similar, but we approach it in our own unique way. The only thing different with his videos is his voice. That's about it from mine. Kind of sucks, but oh well, nothing you can do about it until the day he actually uses one of my jokes or something like that, which I copyright everything from my years of being a comedian, then things can be done. Lists of river cities. Didn't I do one like that? I think it was cities that cheap river property or something like that. Or your garden. Yeah, Nick's got a good channel. I like Nick. His Mappy thing cracks me up sometimes. I'll watch it and I just shake my head. I was thinking about doing, just to tease him, do one video and have a character called Compass and just do the same thing just to mess with him, but too much effort for the joke. How many states have I lived in? 7 or 9, something like that. Depend, you know, if you count the military and all that. Well, thank you, Bren. Railroad, University Park, Chicago. It's pretty interesting. You ever want to read something interesting? Read about the history of the trains in the United States and how different companies took over each one. It's almost like how, you know, these days we got Facebook taking over Instagram and someone else owning Snapchat and all that stuff. It's how the rails were back in the day. And actually in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's how the airlines were. They kept getting snatched up by bigger airlines. Well, you know, I think Nick did on that Portland video. It was a video about negativity about Portland. You know, he wasn't going to show all the good stuff. That could be another video. He was pretty accurate, but I I mean, I watched the video a couple times. I was in it. He was fairly accurate, but he was just focused on the negative. So it makes it seem like it's way worse when you're just focusing on the negative. But that was the whole theme of the video, the negatives about Portland. He could do another one anytime, the nice things about Portland, which Portland does still have some nice things, even though it's got a buttload of problems right now. Nick Johnson, battle. How are we going to battle? Wrestled in high school, boxed in the Army. Took jujitsu for years. I'm old, but I still think I can take a lot of people. I actually grew up in a very strange neighborhood. It's where the Gracies started teaching jiu-jitsu in the United States. Chuck Norris had his first studio there. Danny Asanto had his Kali Academy and all that there. So everyone in this section of Los Angeles went to some form of martial art. And for some reason, when I was younger, people would get in fights all the time. And it was a very commonplace thing. We weren't hardcore gangsters. There was no one getting shot, stabbed, or anything like that. It was just fist fights all the time. Every weekend, someone got in a fist fight. And it was interesting. It was an interesting time. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Nowadays, someone's going to court and jail and all that. You get in a fight in the street back then, the police would show up and separate you two and maybe, threaten to arrest you and make you go your own way. A wet noodle is a daunting prospect. John, that's what I started off with when I was young. Taekwondo. Took that from, I was like 6 years old until I was probably about 14. It's aloe water. They're not paying me to say that, but it's pretty good. It's a little heavy on the sugar. I normally drink those Neuro things. Those have no sugar. I'm trying to cut down my sugar in a big way. Jiu-jitsu is great. If you can find a good place, a good studio, or a good because there's something that they refer to as your jiu-jitsu pedigree. Who trained you? Where'd you get your training? Because there's a lot of jiu-jitsu places that just popped up out of nowhere, and they don't have. It's like, where'd you get your black belt? Famous passenger trainer. Thoughts on Cincinnati? I like Cincinnati. I'm a Cleveland fan, so I got to hate Cincinnati to a certain degree. But it's not as bad as Dayton or Cleveland. Too old to fight. Yeah, that's about it. I like the way Kevin James put it. I think it was in one of those grown-ups movies where he said he's not fighting anymore. He says he's only got like 5 minutes left of fighting in his life, and he's saving that for a home intruder or something like that. Got a roll of Joe Rogan. He's had some of the guys I originally started taking jiu-jitsu with, Higan Machado, that they're cousins of the Gracies. That's who I started with when I started taking jiu-jitsu, and he's had Higan on his show a couple times. Yeah, that's it. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, the Cuyahoga River caught fire. The water actually caught fire. It was so polluted. And you know what's funny? Everyone says it caught fire once. It's caught fire twice. YouTube keeps kicking me off. Then it plays Tequila Sunrise in the background. That's kind of cruel. What Gracies have I met? I've met Horion. I've met Hoyce. The God. So when they were real little, they were like 9 and 8. The two brothers that have the Gracie Breakdown channel, I forget their names right now, but I used to see them in my dad's restaurant all the time and talk to them and stuff like that. And that all started because I had a Muchacho, which is their cousin or uncle or whatever. I had one of their jerseys on, or t-shirts on. And so the kids started talking to me. Now they're, black belts and they got their own thing, but met them. Was at a function one time and saw Helio. That was nice before he passed away. Matter of fact, I was just looking at this. Oh, it's got a thing on. Before I moved up here, I got this thing from I can't read it up there. But it's for it's gonna put on the window of my car, and never did. This thing's like 12 years old. It's a sticker for your car. Muchacho Jiu-Jitsu. River Fire, I believe. Washington? Never heard of a river catching fire in Washington. Over the Empire. Cuyahoga River caught fire 13 times. 13 times. Yeah. So, yeah, even more than I thought. Because I remember reading that it was twice. Oh, okay. The only first time was photographed. 13 times, though. You're doing something wrong if it catches fire once. Never caught fire? Really? Yeah, Chicago's had a history of some pretty polluted water, but I think Cuyahoga River takes the prize for that. East Vancouver, culturally? I don't know. Haven't spent enough time there to have a point of view on that one. Supposedly, yeah, there's a lot of bodies there. See, this is nice. I like this so much better where there's like right now there's 31 of us. So much better than having 200-300 people in there. I just can't keep up. I mean, at least for me, it's better. What's my favorite what was your favorite railroad growing up? I don't know. Never really thought about that. I do remember Santa Fe being, I think I had a train set that said Santa Fe when I was a kid. Vancouver, I've heard that too, that Vancouver and Portland are very similar. But like I said, I've been through there a couple times, never spent enough time to really get to know the place that well. What's the most expensive city in the world to live? Auckland, New Zealand. Hola. Plano, Texas. It's not me 07, huh? Plano is nice. I know a couple people that have moved there. Actually, my daughter's best friend just moved there like last year. And she seems to like it. She hasn't been back. Well, she's been back, but she hasn't decided to change her mind and move back yet. I flew her out here for my daughter's birthday to surprise her, right? And when I was buying the ticket for her, I realized that first class at the time, this during the middle of the pandemic, was only like, $30 more. So I got her first class tickets. Well, she didn't realize this, and she gets on the plane. She didn't realize she was in first class. And she thought, oh, I'm in first class. And they're all, you didn't know? And she said, no, I didn't know. And so she sits down. I'm all, what you should have told them is this older gentleman sent me these tickets. That would have just given them, but yeah. Schuylkill River. Start fire. And the Cuyahoga River is the only river to catch fire. The Rouge River in Detroit also caught fire in 1969. I did not realize that. I did not realize that. Look at you, Geo Scholar, coming through with all the information. Andrew Jackson. Oh, that's William Tyler. I forget. William Henry Harrison. That's it. It's too bad. I wish they really start building more cars back in Detroit again. I mean, that was when they were good. Just too bad they decided to ship everything elsewhere. I mean, that was American. That was such an American city that's where. Yeah, he's the one that got the flu during his speech, isn't he? And he died from pneumonia or something like that. I mean, Detroit was such an epic city when it was just the epicenter of building cars in the United States, and just by outsourcing and all that, those companies just killed that city. I mean, there was other things that went into it, but that was the catalyst. When they started moving jobs overseas, it just destroyed that whole city. Yeah, would be a good place. Build boats. I watched this documentary, and this guy, who's an economist, he says it's easy for the people at the top of a company, like a automaker, to make that decision to outsource, because their job is secure in the United States, because the labor has to move and the white collar and the management doesn't have to move. So they can move the jobs to where there's cheaper labor, and they still get to sit where they are. So it's an easy decision for them to make. So their downtown is looking great, and it's starting to spread out a little bit. And hopefully, if they could get, they still have jobs there. They just don't have the jobs like they did decades ago. They also have, 30% of the people they had living there in the 1970s. So now they don't need as many jobs. They just need some good jobs to really complete their, resurrection. But it's going in the right direction. They just need another automaker to bite the bullet and bring jobs back to Detroit. Oh yeah, Detroit bulldozed so many homes. Well, people were burning them for fun because they've been abandoned for whatever, and they're just cutting up the wood from buildings, and they were getting dangerous, and then homeless were moving into them. So they just had to get rid of them. And if you ever want to see something scary, get on Google Maps, get the street view, and start going through the city. And you will just see there'll be whole blocks where there used to be like 50 homes. There's one home sitting there. It's really weird. It's just grass everywhere else. Yeah. Yeah. Mexico pumps out a lot of cars. People always think they moved them all to China. No, Mexico has a lot of our auto industry. Detroit Tigers won the World Series. I remember that. That was God, 84. Was that, is that how far back that was? So it's strange. Usually when I do a live stream on this channel, it's not as well known. So people just sometimes wander in there. What is this? What are we talking about? They don't know about the other channel. It's really funny. And we haven't had that at all tonight. So that's kind of good. Yeah, that's the truth, Noel. Maybe, Bren. Maybe. You know, it's funny. I don't want to get in politics, but I've always thought it doesn't matter what parties and but why not offer a major tax break if you bring those jobs back? Like if you're bringing, that's where they should get their tax breaks. Bringing jobs back, that should be some kind of write off there to make it worth it for the company, which means more people are making money here in the United States, which means more tax dollars coming in. They may not be getting it from Ford, but they're getting it from the people that work for Ford. And I think the people of Detroit would be more than happy if Ford came in and offered them a job, you know? Thanks, Alex. He shared my channel to the friends. It's okay. It's not that bad. We got 29 people in here. See, that's the down. But agreements can always be changed. Yeah, solar panels. That's a big industry now. I'm actually thinking about getting my whole roof done with that Tesla one. It's like 30 grand though, so weighing my options. If I lived in Arizona, it's an easy decision. Yeah, on this day channel. That one actually is starting to see some growth finally. On this day. Wind turbines. Yeah, remember Texas? So that whole thing with Texas, I read an article about it, and the wind turbines weren't weatherized. If you go to the ones in North Dakota or something like that, or even Pennsylvania, they're weatherized against cold because they know it's going to be cold. Well, the people that put up most of the wind turbines in Texas, it's never going to get that cold. Why winterize them? That costs thousands of dollars. And, well, kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one. Actually, I like to put them up late, and then it gets a good. I put up at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night on this day, for the next days, because it's already the next day in the East Coast. So it filters in views steady all day every time I put up a video. Nothing like World According to Briggs, but it's still growing, so that's good. So that's a legitimate thought. 10 states that are doing better after COVID than before. I know there are some cities that are, so got to be some states. Something I've thought about, haven't looked into it though. Indiana gets some strange weather. Yeah, Austin is booming. Definitely is. Where do I get most of my stats? So I go to different government websites usually. The census is a big one for me. The Department of Labor and Statistics, they have good things. FBI has good stats. So I do my research from those mostly. Real estate, when I get prices and stuff, I kind of go to Redfin or Zillow because, I always give the median home price. So the median home price that's, it's not a realistic number. That means a lot to real estate agents and things like that. So I'll include it because if I didn't, people would, complain. So would I give you the median price, which I'll usually get from like the census or something like that. But then I go to Zillow or Redfin and I look and I take a realistic look at what things are going. That's why you'll always hear me say the median home price is like 175,000. But if you really want something that's ready to move in right now, you're looking at about 225 to 250. I figure that's the best way to explain it to people. So Texas is one of the best states to move to right now. There's a reason people are flooding in that place. And all the people say, oh, it's going to get worse because so many people are moving in. Maybe 5-10 years. You got a couple, 3-4 years if this pace keeps going to where it's going to really start creating a problem. Sure, prices will always rise a little bit no matter where you are. They might be a little faster than other places, but not terrible. It's just if you've lived there a long time, you could see the people coming in and you start to realize it's getting crowded. But they've got a lot of space. We got a lot of open space, and it's a great place to live right now. Haven't stop typing. I got to bring that back in. Sometimes when I get to something that I know I'm going to get a lot of comments on, then I have to put it in there. What are my thoughts on the current minimum wage? I have a lot of thoughts on it, actually. Minimum wage was designed for something that you paid high school kids for their first job. Well, that was kind of the spirit of the law. Now they just turned it into any job that they don't feel like paying a lot of money for. They just put it at minimum wage. They have that for everyone. It was meant originally for kids in their first job. And businesses are businesses. If they find an opening, they're going to exploit it and they're going to try and pay as little as they can. Any business you have, just about, labor is your biggest expense. So everyone's going to try and cut it down no matter what. But I do think it needs to grow with the economy. And then people say that, well, no, if you raise the minimum wage, everything else raises. Well, that's where the free market, takes things into consideration. So you raise the minimum wage. McDonald's isn't going to start charging $50 for a Happy Meal because no one will buy one. So they'll raise it 2 or 3 cents to make the difference. Everything's fine. But everyone always tries to scare you. Well, they'll just raise the price of everything and it'll wash out. No, it's not true. It may be a little bit, not enough to where it's going to affect people terribly. The market will control itself. They always say that whenever there's a minimum wage hike, it causes a slowdown in hiring and all that. And of all the times they've raised the minimum wage, it's only happened one time. And that was during a recession already that they raised the minimum wage. That's another thing people always bring up about the minimum wage. It's like, okay, you're going to raise the minimum wage. They'll just replace you with a robot like they're doing at McDonald's with the kiosks too. So I had a friend that used to call it koi sick all the time because he couldn't, I don't know, read or something. That was 30 years ago. To this day, whenever I think of the word kiosk, I want to say koi sick. Don't ask me why. I'm just weird. So everyone always says, "Oh, you're just going to be replaced by a machine." If they could, they replace you already. There's a couple extra bucks isn't going to make that much of a difference. They would replace you tomorrow if they could find a machine that was reliable and people would accept. Now, it's not a political conversation. That's just a conversation about the United States and our minimum wage. I'm really struggling to stay away from all politics for the next year and a half till we get closer to politics, till the midterm elections. I'm not even looking at politics right now. Sears, cool. You have a good night. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, Rosie the Robot. FWIW. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Which day was that? No, did I include a different picture? Sometimes that happens. We can't find a picture of what we're looking for. Oh my God, Bill Burr has a perfect explanation for that self-checkout thing. It is great. I love that. I laugh so hard. It's like he says he stands there for a minute and no one rings him up, so he just walks out. And if they stop him, he's all, well, I'm not doing your job. I'm leaving with my food. If no one's going to help me, I'm leaving. And then they're all, well, you can't do that. He's all, what are you going to do? Cut my hours for not ringing my stuff up? I don't even work here. Oh, yesterday, MD80. Okay, yeah. Thor edited that, and he probably just grabbed whatever picture he can. So sometimes I run into a problem, especially with On This Day. The copyrighted pictures and video, I can't use a lot of it. So sometimes we're kind of screwed, and we got to make do, and that's probably what happened. Oh, Bill Burr is hysterical. Always love him. You ever get a chance, watch Jimmy Schubert. Similar style. Jimmy Schubert is very interesting. Do you think we will become like the Jetsons? No, because I was supposed to have a flying car by now, and it's not happening. Not in my lifetime. And who puts a treadmill out the side of a balcony, God knows how many stories up, with no railings or anything on it? It's like, who thought that was a good idea? Good idea. I have a comedian friend. Actually, he's passed away now. I was back when I did comedy. I did a show in Boston, and he drove me in the airport and walking like down 3 flights of stairs when we parked his car. This back when you could actually go up to the terminal and say goodbye to someone. So we're walking in there. We're gonna get a drink before I got on flight. And I'm all, don't you have an elevator here? He goes, no, there's too many Irish in Boston. He goes, they don't trust us with that kind of technology. I thought that was funny. All right, guys, I'm winding this down. It's been an hour and a half. I was only going to do this for an hour. I'm going to try this again next Friday night around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier for you guys. I'll post it up for the members only thing too on the other channel so you guys know, okay? All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight.